Should you get Lunchly for your kids? A real quick answer is no, you really shouldn't. We all know that fruits and vegetables are what people need to eat more of for both kids and adults, but getting fruits and veggies for every meal can be rather costly in both time and money. So almost all people will turn to processed foods for an easy solution at one point or another. It's understandable and even reasonable. The reality is, meal prep for an entire week does take quite a bit of time to not only think about what you want to eat, but the ingredients that you need to purchase on top of it, as well as how you're getting the food in the first place. It's a lot. So let's talk about prepackaged meals, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is NyxStarlight. I am a creator that covers a wide variety of topics. I'm not a nutritionist, nor a doctor, pediatrician, or a lawyer. However, I am an artist, and it's my job to help communicate to a wide audience. I've compiled a bunch of research and articles and will be breaking them down for you in a nice digestible way. All the links will be in a PDF file in the description to continue your own research. But because I am talking about dietary suggestions, influencer marketing, and lawsuits, I want to make it very clear to anyone watching that you should be talking to a doctor about your dietary needs for yourself or for your kids. Prepackaged meals versus dietary suggestions. With the legal notice out of the way, let's get back to Lunchly. Lunchly and Lunchables are prepackaged meals. They are quick meals directed at kids to eat. They don't require much preparation. In this case, they only need to be refrigerated. So in a school cafeteria where students might not be allowed to use a microwave or to store their lunches in a refrigerator, prepackaged meals are a good solution. On average, 41% of elementary school kids bring lunch to school on any given day, with 45% bringing a snack. These numbers are from a research paper done by the Journal of Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. They did a study titled What's in Children's Backpacks? Food Brought from Home, to find out, you guessed it, what children bring to school to eat. I think all of you know where this is going. They did this for both lunch and snacks and categorized everything and calculated percentages. They base their dietary standards on FDA serving sizes and amounts, and the quality of lunches and snacks were determined by NSLP, which is the National School Lunch Program, in 2010 Dietary Guidelines for Americans. The study was done in 2014. From looking at the paper, there are a bunch of numbers and percentages. I'm about to throw a lot of numbers at you, but I promise it'll be easy to visualize in just a second. The standards at the time was half a cup of fruit, 3/4 of a cup of vegetables, an ounce of grains, an ounce of protein, and 1 cup of milk. Most lunches met the standards of grains and proteins, each receiving 65 and 66% respectively. Only 6% met the vegetable standard, 15% met the milk standard, and 32% met the fruit standard. So, out of the 5 standards as to what children should be eating every day, 14% of students met 0 of the standards, 20% met 1 standard, 38% met 2 standards, 23% met 3 standards, and 5% met 4 standards, and 0% of students met all 5 standards. Again, these standards are what children should be eating every day, not a single student met all 5 standards. Sugar sweetened beverages were found in 24% of lunches and in 35% of snacks, and were primarily portion packed juice drinks in packages attractive to children. Results suggest a need to focus on reducing consumption of these beverages and a promotion of water and low fat milk as healthier beverage options during the school day. This is a direct quote from the research paper. In my school district, a passing grade is 65%. You need a 65% in order to pass a class. If you were graded on your lunch, like on a quiz where each requirement was a question, like for example, did you at least have 1/2 a cup of fruit for lunch? Only 5% of students would pass the lunch test, and none of them would get 100. It's safe to say that kids are not getting the nutritional values that they need when they bring lunch to school. This study was done in 2014, which is 10 years ago, and the standards have changed to be 1 cup of fruit, 1.5 to 2.5 cups of vegetables, 6 to 7 ounces of grains, and 2 to 3 cups of dairy. Because these values have increased, it's a safe assumption that the percentage of students failing lunch standards have also increased. It's not just one study either. There have been multiple studies that found that lunches brought from home do not meet the same nutritional values as those made at school. Now, it's so easy to point at parents and caretakers and blame them for the lack of nutritional value in packed lunches. But that's looking from an analytical point of view. It doesn't include consideration for income, ability, or knowledge. In the real world, I think it would be a difficult task to constantly make sure a meal meets all the standards recommended by the USDA. Parents and caretakers are busy and will not always have time to prep meals, which brings us to prepackaged meals like Lunchly or Lunchable. These prepackaged meals do not meet the guidelines on their own. They're not meant to. This past year, there's been a lot of talk about Lunchables in schools and how they're being offered as meals. Consumer Reports did a wonderful article about how they should be removed from the school lunch program, citing lead and cadmium being found in the school lunch kits, as well as the sodium levels being too high and phthalates. The phthalates? I never found out how to say this. Hold on. Phthalate. Why? Why would they do that? Citing lead and cadmium being found in lunch kits as well as the sodium levels being too high and phthalates. For context, the school versions of Lunchables have almost 200 more milligrams of sodium than their store versions. Phthalates are endocrine disruptors that can mimic or interfere with hormones in the body, which can contribute to an increased risk of reproduction problems, obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and certain cancers, as explained in the article. The USDA allows 2 Lunchable kits to be served to nearly 30 million school children under the school lunch program, which are the turkey and cheddar cracker stackers and the extra cheesy pizza. Are you starting to get the bigger picture here? Lunchly's beginning advertisements are marketed as direct competitors to Lunchables, comparing, wouldn't you guess it, the turkey and cheddar cracker stackers lunch kit and the pepperoni meal kit. I'm not saying that Lunchly is going to be offered in schools anytime soon, but I do think it's plausible that this is the end goal, which is extremely problematic. I want to make something clear here. The standards of children's meals have always been an ongoing problem. Even before Lunchables, there were talks around school lunch programs in general. A majority of people understand that these prepackaged meal kits aren't healthy. No, the real problem here that people have against Mr. Beast, Logan Paul, and KSI is influencer marketing. Influencer marketing, responsibility versus greed. Just in case someone isn't aware as to what I mean by influencer marketing, here is the direct definition. Influencer marketing, also known as influence marketing, is a form of social media marketing involving endorsements and product placement from influencers, people, and organizations who have a purported expert level of knowledge or social influence in their field. Influencers are someone or something with the power to affect the buying habits or quantifiable actions of others by uploading some form of original, often sponsored, content to social media platforms like Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, or other online channels. On paper, it can sound very obvious. Even when doom scrolling through TikTok, you might see a promoted video or sponsored content or hashtag ad, which is to make it clear to people that what they're seeing is sponsored content. However, diving into the laws themselves, it can be a bit more complicated. Here in the United States, the FTC, which is the Federal Trade Commission, sets the rules and regulations when it comes to advertisements and marketing, as well as many other things. However, because social media and the internet as a whole is accessible by many countries, there are many more lax and strict laws in different areas. So something that might be okay here in the United States might not be acceptable in any other country. All influencers, social media personalities, streamers, blog writers, and others do have some sort of influencer marketing without even realizing it. Let's use YouTube as our primary example. The most obvious form of influencer marketing is when you see your favorite YouTuber talking about a product that they use to use their code in the website's product page to get a discount. Another obvious one is a YouTuber selling their own merch. In both cases, the YouTuber is getting a percentage of profit or a flat sum being paid to them because they're talking about these products in front of their audiences. It's to sway you as the viewer to now want that product. However, it's not always clear. Some people don't disclose their ads as them being paid by a company, which is illegal. This is normally when the FTC steps in and cracks down on bad actors, which they did big time in 2016 and 2020, and still continue to do so. The FTC is even more aggressive when it comes to marketing towards children and has dozens of pages dedicated to explaining what is allowed and what's not, including marketing food towards children. I am not a lawyer, nor am I going to be reading through hundreds of FTC files, law papers, and court cases. But I will talk about a few key examples. A huge company named Machinima had a huge market sway in the gaming industry with YouTubers that they had under their MCN. A MCN is a multi-channel network that works with companies to get YouTubers sponsorships along with other things. At the time, Machinima paid a bunch of YouTubers to talk about the Xbox One in their reviews and commentary, and did not disclose that it was a paid advertisement. They ended up settling, but this caused YouTube to crack down and partially begin the adpocalypse. This happened in 2016. Another huge case more recently was Google and YouTube having to pay a record-breaking fine of 170 million due to breaking the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act rule. This was in regard specifically to collecting and mismanaging personal information when it comes to children. But also, third parties, such as advertising networks, are subject to COPPA, where they have actual knowledge that they are collecting personal information directly from users of child directed websites and online services. This became a huge problem because of how much advertising was marketed directly to kids at the time. Because there are YouTube channels operated and affiliated with toy companies, YouTube still needs to comply with COPPA, which served at the time targeted advertisements to children. In all honesty, this case was a huge nightmare at the time, and it shaped YouTube to what it is today. This happened in around 2019 to 2020. Needless to say, influencers get hit with lawsuits when they break the law or when they need to defend it. Not everyone is a bad actor, after all. However, this brings us back to Lunchables. Logan Paul and Mr. Beast are facing their own fair share of lawsuits, which I'm not going to get into at the moment because they're not closed yet. I don't need a lawsuit myself, but they are alleged to have some serious crimes about regarding a crypto scam and a class action lawsuit, respectively. I bring this up because it can speak to their character. I am in no way accusing of Lunchley to be a scam, but I am speaking to how Logan Paul and Mr. Beast do have some questionable practices. I wanted to lay the foundation to all of this to give some perspective. Now, this is easy from someone who doesn't have a huge following. As an influencer, it's in the name, you influence people. How you influence people is up to you. You can influence people for your own personal agendas and causes, or for what you're paid to influence people for. Either way, you are the one with the eyes on you. You are held responsible for what you do. If you have an audience of children in front of you, you are responsible for what you say and do. Your actions will always have consequences. It's really sad to see these people who have such a large following of kids and adults to use their influence for greed. I'm not going to entirely diminish what these greeters have done for charity. However, it's clear that this is a business move and not a charitable one. If you're marketing a bad product and you know it, you're no better than a con man. These three know that their product is not healthy nor a good option. Why do you think their word choice is so specific? It's healthier than Lunchables, but when compared to everything else, they're both at the bottom of the list. These three could have worked together to try to get a healthier prepackaged meal out there to the public. It most likely wouldn't be as profitable, if profitable at all. However, with their influence, they could have completely changed the market. I want to make it clear here that it's okay to have unhealthy products for business. I know damn well that potato chips aren't healthy for you, but that doesn't mean that I don't want them from time to time. There just needs to be a balance. For these meals, the prepackaged ones, it's okay that they don't meet all the standards of a healthy meal. However, the problem is that they're marketed as a healthy alternative. The reality is that these meals should be used sparingly when time matters, like for a quick trip or a couple times a month, a treat, if you will. It's not something healthy to eat, but it is a time saver that's relatively affordable. Your kids shouldn't be eating this. Your kid should not be eating this as a lunch substitute all the time, just on occasion. Lunchly is no better than their competitors. In a report filed under the University of Connecticut, the Rudd Report, they did a piece specifically on craft Lunchables. The Children's Food and Beverage Advertising Initiative, which is CFBAI for short, is an initiative created by the CBBB. Created by the CBBB, Council of Better Business Bureaus. If you are just as lost with the letter acronyms as I am, basically Big Daddy Government made a bunch of children to make a bunch of rules, okay? Okay. They focused on the advertising surrounding Kraft Lunchables, also claiming to be healthy. Lunchables had 5 Lunchable kits that met the standard of nutrition and could be advertised to children, while 37 other Lunchable products did not meet these standards. In addition, 12 varieties of the Lunchable products had juice with them that were less than 10% actual juice. On the internet, Lunchables.com averaged more than 43,000 unique child visitors per month. There were almost twice as many child visitors compared with teens, and the children were 2.5 times more likely to visit the site compared to visitors of all ages. In addition, approximately 28 million ads for Lunchables were viewed monthly on youth websites such as Disney Channel and Nick.com sites, representing 60% of all displayed ads viewed for the product. This report says this at the end. If Kraft Lunchables wanted to become part of the solution to improving children's diets and reducing obesity, it should reformulate all varieties of Lunchables to meet the CFBAI nutrition standards for foods advertised to children. If the company continues to offer Lunchables that do not meet nutrition standards, it should stop advertising Lunchables directly to children, including on TV and the internet, and use in store marketing to increase the presence and visibility of the healthiest varieties of Lunchables, and stop allocating the most prominent placement of those varieties that include sugary drinks and candy and contain high levels of saturated fat and sodium. Kraft Foods have positioned itself as a leader in product choices and marketing practices that encourage healthy lifestyles and make it easier for families to eat and live better. The company should reformulate its Lunchable products and reform marketing targeted to children to reflect that promise. This report was made in 2014. So, what can you do? It is my recommendation to not buy Lunchables or Lunchly. If your kids or kids that you know are interested in getting Lunchly because their favorite YouTubers are on it, try to explain that Lunchly is not a healthy option. Perhaps offer watching some of their favorite YouTubers while eating lunch or while packing their lunch for school. Explain that you don't always have to support their favorite YouTubers by buying things. I also recommend having a serious discussion with kids about healthy eating options, as well as discussing when it is appropriate to get prepackaged meals like Lunchly or Lunchables. Don't let your kids be swayed with influencer marketing. Explain to them that just because Mr. Beast, Logan Paul, and KSI say Lunchly is a good option doesn't mean it actually is. Also, calling out these three on their greedy behavior is a start. Dan TDM, a famous YouTuber, spoke out against the Lunchly launch. I can't not say anything anymore. This is selling stuff for the sake of making money. Simple. How does this benefit their fans? This is selling crap to kids who don't know better than to trust the people who are selling it to them. Do better. Anyways, this video is getting on long enough. I know that there's much more that could be said about the direct unhealthiness of Lunchly, and I've included 2 videos from people who know what they're talking about. They discuss in length on whether or not someone needs to be consuming Lunchly in the first place. The videos are in the description below. I hope that my video has given some insight about whether or not you should consume Lunchly or give it to someone you know. If you liked the video, consider subscribing, liking, or commenting. You also don't have to. It's only there if you want to. Anyways, I will see you guys next time. Have a good one.